Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Gamer Sim show where you, the viewer, come to me, the host, for all the video game walkthroughs and playthroughs. And you stay for the pop culture knowledge. And today on the history of the underappreciated Muppet Month edition, this is the fourth week. This time we're going to Sesame Street. And I was going to do Mumphrey the Magician, but I don't know enough about him. So I went with a character that I actually knew. And this is Harry Monster. That's a character that they don't use anymore. Not really. But he was like, he's a little bit grumpy. But he was more often not one of the more smarter teacher Muppets as well. It's kind of like a half and half. He's kind of a light blue, um, furrowed brow, um, white and red striped pants, and usually, like I said, depicted taller than half the Muppets on Sesame Street, half the characters. Um, Again, they don't use him very often, but he would more often not be in segments with like Telly or Cookie, or even Grover sometimes, or when they needed a bunch of different creatures like him, with a bunch of different monster characters. Um, he wasn't in a lot of storylines. And I think that's why he became so obscure. He was back during the 80s and 90s of the show, and well, yeah, he appeared mostly in segments, and I did showcase the character. He did have a couple pieces of merchandise floating around here and there, and like most Muppet characters, if they don't last more than a couple of seasons, then well, that's it. Um, so far, characters that I grew up with, like Harry, have started to kind of fade away, like Baby Bear and um, Telly Monster, who, mind you, Telly was there right from the beginning, I think, right from season one, as a television monster, thus Telly. He had antenna and everything. He was so weird. So weird knowing that that's what the character started out with. But yeah, these characters that I grew up with, the only ones that have really stuck around have been Big Bird, Oscar, which those two go all the way back to the original. Elmo, who debuted during the late 80s but didn't get big until the 90s. Um, Zoe, who got introduced during the 2000s, as well as Rosita, which is around the time my sister was born, and everything. A lot of the characters that I grew up with have kind of faded. Quite a few of them have faded away. The only ones from the late 80s to early 90s, late 80s to late 90s, um, that have stuck around have been, well, Elmo, for the most part. They got introduced around that time. I hate that because that means characters. Hell, I don't even know if they use Snuffy very often anymore. Um, they don't really use Count Von Count too much. Well, they don't really use him much anyway. They usually just use him for a gag, and that's about it. But yeah, it's a shame that characters and that even characters that had a gimmick, like Baby Bear and Tilly, who, mind you, kept appearing in stories during the '90s, early 2000s, even some of the 2010s, um, are just now starting to fade away. But characters like Harry, who really didn't have too much of a gimmick other than being a teaching monster character, which they can use any character for that. And he just kind of faded away. And he was one of my favorites growing up. Him and the twin monsters, I love those. It's funny, their main gimmick is that they bicker, and they can't be really understood. But they've stuck around. I just think that's kind of weird to me, you know, being a guy who grew up with reruns of the late 90s and early 2000s run the show. And they would rerun some old segments here and there. And just knowing that Harry Monster is a bit of a casualty nowadays, well, it's just like, well, what can you do? And that's what the History of the Underappreciated is all about. Hopefully someday I'll be able to make thumbnails for these characters, you know, showcasing the characters, their likeness and everything. And yeah, these last couple are gonna hit hard. These last two are gonna hit a little harder. Well, this one hit a little harder because everybody's watched Sesame Street at least once in their lifetime. Be it because they got kids of their own, grandkids, or they watched it when they were growing up. Especially in the last 30 years. Um, but next week we will cap things off with somebody or somebodies from the classic Muppet Show. And I'm not gonna say who, I'm not gonna say how many, if at all. But it is gonna be from the classic run of the Muppet Show, from the first 5 seasons. Well, the only 5 seasons. But we're gonna look at that, and then that'll be it as far as like that part of the Muppet Month. Unfortunately, anime wise, I can't really do that. Unfortunately, can't do it. Sorry, but I do have other stuff for the Anime Lounge. Don't you worry about that. Don't you worry about that. Um, Cartoon Asylum. I got something planned. I'm gonna look at it. And of course, guys, be sure to check out all of our History of the Underappreciated stuff, as well as Muppet Month in general. I know there's not too many videos up for Muppet Month, and I'm sorry for that. Between Leo being out, me not really having a lot of focus for Muppet. And let's face it, they didn't do a lot of animation. I don't think. Or anything like that. But luckily for you guys, I've got plenty of other stuff going for Halloween. And it's Halloween, you know? But we still got one other week besides this one, so keep that in mind. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, hit that like button. Ring the bell for notifications. Share this video with everyone you know. Go in the comment section down below. Let me know. Did you see this character? Did you see Harry Monster growing up? If so, tell me what you thought of him. If you didn't, are you gonna look him up? You know. And of course, guys, hit that like button. It helps. It really does. Hit the like and subscribe. Help us bring these videos up a little bit more. Helps us out quite a bit. I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.